What if a simple night out with friends turned into a nightmare so chilling it defies explanation? What if the wilderness you thought you could trust became the stage for one of the most perplexing and haunting mysteries in American history? Tonight, we delve into the case of the Yuba County Five, a story of friendship, fear, and a series of decisions so baffling that they've left investigators and families searching for answers for nearly 5 decades. What drove 5 young men to abandon their car on a desolate mountain road, trek miles into the freezing wilderness, and meet such tragic and inexplicable fates? Was it fear, confusion, or something far more sinister lurking in the shadows? By the end of this video, you'll uncover disturbing details that will make you question everything you thought you knew about survival, trust, and the darkness that can hide in plain sight. But before we dive into this chilling tale, I have a quick request. Did you know that most viewers who watch our videos aren't subscribed to this channel? If you're fascinated by real-life mysteries and stories that reveal the darkest corners of human behavior, hit that subscribe button now. By subscribing, you'll ensure you never miss an episode that could change the way you see the world forever. Now, let's begin. But be warned, this story will stay with you long after the screen goes dark. It was a cold February night in 1978 when 5 friends from Yuba County, California, vanished into the Sierra Nevada mountains, leaving behind a trail of baffling clues and unanswered questions. They were returning from a college basketball game in Chico, their spirits high as they prepared for their own tournament the next day. But somewhere along the way, their journey took a sinister turn. By morning, their families awoke to find empty bedrooms and an eerie silence that would mark the beginning of one of the most perplexing cases in American history. The group, Ted Weiher, Gary Mathias, Bill Sterling, Jackie Madruga, and Jackie Hewitt, was inseparable. They had met through a local organization supporting individuals with intellectual disabilities and bonded over their shared love for basketball. That night, they piled into Madruga's turquoise 1969 Mercury Montego and set off for what should have been a simple trip to watch UC Davis play Chico State. No one could have imagined that this ordinary outing would end in tragedy, or that it would leave behind a mystery that has haunted investigators for decades. 4 days after their disappearance, the Mercury Montego was discovered abandoned on a desolate mountain road in the Plumas National Forest, miles away from their intended route home. The car was stuck in a shallow snowbank, but remained fully operational, with enough gas to drive out. Inside, investigators found candy wrappers, basketball game programs, and an unused map of California. There were no signs of foul play or mechanical failure. Strangely, the group had left the car behind, despite being physically capable of pushing it free, a decision that would only deepen the mystery surrounding their fate. The area where the car was found was remote and treacherous, especially during winter. It was a place none of the men had any reason to visit, and they were woefully unprepared for the freezing temperatures. Yet, for reasons unknown, they ventured deeper into the wilderness instead of retracing their steps back to safety. This decision marked the beginning of a chilling journey into the unknown, one that would ultimately leave 4 of them dead and 1 missing forever. The first major clue came from Joseph Shons, a man who had been stranded near the same area on the night of February 24th. Shons claimed he had suffered the onset of a heart attack while driving through the mountains and had pulled over to rest. Around 11:30 p.m., he noticed headlights approaching and saw what appeared to be a group of people, possibly with a woman holding a baby. When he called out for help, the lights were turned off and the figures disappeared into the darkness. Hours later, he saw flashlights flickering in the distance, but again, his cries for assistance went unanswered. Shons's account raised more questions than answers. Who were these people, and why would they ignore a man in distress? As investigators pieced together the timeline, they discovered that the group had stopped at a convenience store after leaving the basketball game. They purchased snacks, candy, bars, pies, and milk, items that were later found in their abandoned car. This was the last confirmed sighting of all 5 men alive. What happened after they left that store remains a mystery. Did they take a wrong turn? Were they running from something or someone? The answers seemed to lie somewhere in the vast, snow-covered wilderness that had swallowed them whole. Months passed with no sign of the men, and the case seemed to grow colder with each passing day. Then, in June 1978, as the snow began to melt, a gruesome discovery was made. A Forest Service worker stumbled upon a trailer deep in the woods, nearly 20 miles from where the car had been abandoned. Inside, he found the emaciated body of Ted Weiher, wrapped in several layers of blankets. The scene was haunting. Weiher had clearly survived for weeks, possibly months, before succumbing to starvation and hypothermia. Yet, the trailer contained enough canned food to sustain him for that entire time. Even more perplexing was the presence of a propane tank that could have provided heat, but it had never been used. The discovery raised disturbing questions about Weiher's final days. Why hadn't he eaten more of the food or used the resources available to him? And where were the others? Nearby searches revealed more grim findings. The remains of Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were located along a dirt road leading away from the trailer, their bodies reduced to bones by scavenging animals. Both men appeared to have died from exposure, collapsing just miles from safety. Jackie Hewitt's remains were found further into the forest, scattered across a hillside. But Gary Mathias, the 5th member of the group, was nowhere to be found. The trailer itself became a focal point of the investigation. It was stocked with supplies that could have easily sustained the group. Yet Weiher seemed to have consumed only a fraction of the food available. Even more unsettling were the items found inside. Mathias's shoes were discovered next to Weiher's body, suggesting he had been there at some point. However, there was no trace of Mathias himself. The broken window used to enter the trailer hinted at desperation, but why hadn't they used the propane tank for warmth or taken better advantage of the shelter? The answers seemed maddeningly out of reach, adding another layer of confusion to an already bizarre case. Investigators speculated that the group may have followed snowcat tracks leading to the trailer, believing it would lead them to safety. But why they ventured so far into the wilderness in the first place remained a mystery. Some theorized they were fleeing from someone or something, while others believed they had gotten lost and panicked. Mathias's history of schizophrenia added another dimension to the puzzle. Could he have influenced their decisions during those critical moments? Whatever the truth, the men's actions defied logic, leaving behind a trail of questions that would never be fully answered. As the investigation deepened, the families of the Yuba County Five struggled to make sense of the tragedy. They described their loved ones as kind-hearted but vulnerable, unlikely to venture into such dangerous terrain willingly. The idea that they had ended up in the Plumas National Forest by accident seemed improbable, especially given their familiarity with the area near home. Even more troubling was the suggestion that someone else might have been involved. Sean's testimony about seeing a woman and a baby near the car raised suspicions, but no evidence ever surfaced to confirm the presence of other people that night. Theories began to swirl, ranging from foul play to supernatural explanations. Some believed the group had been chased into the mountains by an unknown assailant, while others speculated they were victims of a bizarre cult ritual. The lack of definitive answers only fueled these speculations. Forensic evidence provided little clarity. Autopsies confirmed hypothermia as the cause of death for most of the men, but it couldn't explain their erratic behavior or why they had abandoned their car in favor of a deadly trek through snow-covered wilderness. One of the most chilling aspects of the case was the condition in which Ted Weiher was found. His body, weighing just 37 kilograms, showed signs of extreme malnutrition despite the trailer being stocked with ample food supplies. Investigators discovered opened cans of provisions, but it appeared Weiher had consumed only a small portion before his death. The blankets wrapped around him suggested he had tried to stay warm, yet the propane heater remained untouched. This detail baffled authorities. Was Weiher too weak to operate it, or had he been intentionally avoiding it for reasons unknown? The scene painted a grim picture of isolation and despair. Meanwhile, Mathias's disappearance added another layer of mystery. His shoes in the trailer implied he had been there at some point, but his fate remained a complete enigma. Mathias was the only member of the group with no remains ever recovered, leading to endless speculation about whether he had succumbed to the elements or managed to escape. Some theorists suggested Mathias might have been responsible for leading the group into the wilderness, citing his history of schizophrenia and occasional psychotic episodes. Yet without concrete evidence, his role in the tragedy and his ultimate fate remains one of the most haunting unanswered questions of the case. The oddities didn't stop there. Investigators noted that the group had traveled nearly 20 miles on foot through deep snow, a feat that would have been grueling even for experienced hikers. None of the men were dressed for such conditions. They wore light jackets and sneakers, completely inadequate for the freezing temperatures of the Sierra Nevada in February. The decision to leave the car and head deeper into the wilderness defied all logic. Why hadn't they stayed with the vehicle, where they could have waited for help? It was as if something or someone had compelled them to keep moving despite the mounting danger. Adding to the confusion was the discovery of personal items scattered along their path. Flashlights, cigarette lighters, and other small belongings were found abandoned in the snow as if dropped in haste. These clues suggested a frantic and disorganized journey, one that ended in tragedy for most of the group. Yet even with these findings, no clear narrative emerged. The lack of footprints or other physical evidence near the trailer only deepened the mystery, leaving investigators to grapple with more questions than answers. For the families, the lack of closure was unbearable. Mathias's parents, in particular, were tormented by the uncertainty surrounding their son's fate. Over the years, they clung to the hope that he might still be alive, perhaps wandering with no memory of who he was. Sightings of Mathias were reported sporadically across California, but none could ever be verified. Each false lead only added to their anguish. The possibility that he had survived while his friends perished raised unsettling questions. If Mathias had made it out of the forest alive, why hadn't he contacted anyone? And if he hadn't, where was his body? Theories about what happened that night continued to multiply. Some locals speculated that the group had been lured into the mountains by someone they trusted, perhaps under the guise of helping a stranded motorist or following directions to a supposed shortcut. Others believed they had stumbled upon something sinister, like an illegal drug operation or a violent encounter with strangers. The idea that they had been deliberately led to their deaths was chilling, but not entirely implausible, given the strange circumstances surrounding their disappearance and the eerie testimony of Joseph Shones. The discovery of Ted Weiher's body in the trailer raised even darker questions. His emaciated state suggested he had survived for weeks, perhaps months, after the group initially vanished. Yet, despite the food and resources available in the trailer, he appeared to have consumed very little. Investigators found unopened cans of provisions and a working propane tank that could have provided heat, but neither had been fully utilized. Was Weiher too mentally or physically impaired to make use of these resources, or was there something else preventing him? The possibility that he had been waiting for Mathias or someone else to return haunted those who studied the case. Equally puzzling was the condition of the other remains. Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were found miles away from the trailer, their bodies reduced to skeletal fragments by scavenging animals. The distance they had traveled suggested a desperate attempt to find help, yet their path seemed aimless and disorganized. Jackie Hewitt's remains were scattered even farther into the wilderness, raising questions about whether he had been separated from the group or had simply collapsed from exhaustion. The lack of clear tracks or signs of struggle added an eerie sense of randomness to their tragic end. One of the most unsettling aspects of the case was the apparent lack of survival instincts displayed by the group. The trailer had been stocked with enough food to sustain them for months, yet only a fraction of it had been consumed. Ted Weiher's body showed signs of prolonged starvation, despite the abundance of canned goods and other supplies. The propane heater, which could have provided warmth during the freezing nights, remained untouched. These details painted a picture of confusion, or perhaps fear. What had prevented them from using the resources at their disposal? And why had they chosen to break into the trailer through a window rather than simply open the door? The scattered remains of Madruga, Sterling, and Hewitt only deepened the mystery. Their paths seemed to diverge after leaving the car, with each man succumbing to the elements in different locations. Investigators speculated that they might have been trying to follow snowcat tracks left by a Forest Service vehicle, believing they would lead to safety. But instead of finding help, they wandered deeper into the wilderness. The absence of Gary Mathias's body added another layer of uncertainty. Had he survived longer than the others? Or had he met an even darker fate somewhere out in the snow-covered expanse? The psychological element of the case was equally disturbing. Gary Mathias's history of schizophrenia became a focal point for investigators and theorists alike. While he had been reportedly stable on his medication, the stress of being lost in the wilderness could have triggered a psychotic episode. If Mathias had indeed experienced a break from reality, could he have influenced the group's decisions? Some speculated that his condition might explain their seemingly irrational behavior, leaving the car, trekking through deep snow, and failing to utilize the trailer's resources. Yet, without Mathias himself to provide answers, this theory remained speculative at best. Adding to the eerie nature of the case was the testimony of Joseph Shones, who claimed to have seen a group of people near the abandoned car on the night of February 24th. His account of a woman holding a baby and the group ignoring his cries for help seemed almost surreal. Could Shones have mistaken what he saw due to his medical distress, or was there truly someone else involved? The idea that an unknown individual, or even multiple people, might have played a role in leading the men into danger was chilling. But like so many other aspects of this case, it was a question that would remain unanswered. The physical evidence left behind by the Yuba County Five painted an incomplete and haunting picture. The abandoned car, found in perfect working condition, stood as a silent witness to their initial decision to leave safety behind. Investigators noted that the car was only lightly stuck in snow and could have been freed with minimal effort. Yet the group chose to abandon it and venture into the wilderness, a choice that defied logic. The items found inside, snack wrappers, a folded map, and basketball programs, offered no clues as to why they had taken such a dangerous path. It was as if they had simply walked away without a plan. The trailer where Ted Weiher's body was discovered became another focal point of confusion. The food supplies were untouched beyond a few cans, and the propane heater remained unused despite the freezing conditions. Mathias's shoes left behind suggested he had been there at some point, but his absence raised more questions than answers. Why hadn't Weiher or Mathias attempted to use the heater or consume more of the food? Did they believe someone would come for them, or were they too disoriented or frightened to act rationally? The trailer, meant to be a refuge, instead became the site of one man's slow and tragic demise. The terrain itself added to the mystery. The Plumas National Forest was unforgiving in winter, with temperatures plunging well below freezing and snow covering the ground in thick layers. For the Yuba County Five, who were dressed in light clothing and sneakers, survival would have been nearly impossible without proper gear. Yet, they managed to travel miles on foot through this hostile environment before succumbing to the elements. The decision to leave their car and head deeper into the wilderness seemed irrational, especially given their lack of preparation. What had driven them to make such a perilous choice? As investigators combed through the area, they discovered scattered belongings, flashlights, cigarette lighters, and other small items left behind along their path. These objects hinted at a chaotic and desperate journey, one marked by confusion and fear. But despite extensive searches, no clear trail emerged to explain their movements. Gary Mathias's disappearance remained the most perplexing aspect of the case. His shoes in the trailer suggested he had made it there with Weiher, but his ultimate fate was a mystery. Was he lost somewhere in the forest, or had he managed to escape, leaving behind more questions than answers? Theories about what could have happened to the group ranged from the plausible to the bizarre. Some investigators believed the men had simply gotten lost after taking a wrong turn, their unfamiliarity with the area leading them deeper into the wilderness. Others speculated that they might have been fleeing from someone or something, though no evidence of a pursuer was ever found. The testimony of Joseph Shons, who claimed to have seen people near the car on the night of their disappearance, added an unsettling layer to these theories. Who were the figures he saw, and why did they ignore his cries for help? Another theory suggested that Gary Mathias, due to his history of schizophrenia, might have experienced a psychotic episode that influenced the group's actions. If Mathias had convinced his friends to follow him into the forest, it could explain their seemingly irrational decisions. However, this idea was complicated by the fact that Mathias had been stable on his medication for years. Without any concrete evidence, these theories remained speculative, leaving investigators and family members grasping at fragments of a story that refused to come together. The haunting nature of the case wasn't just in the unanswered questions, but also in the eerie details that seemed almost too strange to be real. Why had the group broken into the trailer through a window instead of using the door? Why had they consumed so little of the food available, despite their obvious need for sustenance? And why had Ted Weiher wrapped himself in multiple blankets but failed to use the propane heater that could have saved his life? These small, inexplicable choices painted a picture of desperation, confusion, or perhaps even fear, emotions that may have driven them to act irrationally. As time passed, the case of the Yuba County Five became a subject of fascination for true crime enthusiasts and amateur sleuths. Theories about cults, criminal activity, and even supernatural forces began to circulate. Some believed the group had stumbled upon something they weren't meant to see, an illegal operation or a secret gathering, and had been chased into the wilderness as a result. Others entertained darker ideas, suggesting that one or more members of the group might have turned on the others in a moment of panic or mental instability. Without definitive evidence, these theories remained speculative, adding to the chilling aura surrounding the case. For the families of the Yuba County Five, the lack of closure was a wound that never healed. Each discovery, the car, the trailer, the scattered remains, brought more questions than answers. Gary Mathias's parents, in particular, were haunted by his disappearance. Over the years, reports of sightings trickled in, each one raising their hopes only to dash them again. Could Mathias have survived and simply chosen not to return? Or was his body hidden somewhere in the vast expanse of wilderness, waiting to be found? The uncertainty surrounding his fate became a cruel reminder of how little was truly known about what happened that night. Investigators eventually closed the case, citing hypothermia as the official cause of death for most of the men. But this explanation did little to satisfy those who had followed the story closely. The bizarre circumstances, the abandoned car, the unused food and heater, and the scattered belongings defied simple answers. The case became a cautionary tale about how quickly a seemingly ordinary situation could spiral into tragedy. Decades later, it remains one of America's most enduring mysteries, a chilling reminder of how little we sometimes understand about human behavior in moments of crisis. Over the years, the case of the Yuba County Five has been revisited by journalists, investigators, and even filmmakers. each hoping to uncover new clues or provide fresh insights. Documentaries and podcasts have dissected every detail, from the testimony of Joseph Schons to the strange decisions made by the group in their final days. Yet despite renewed interest and modern investigative techniques, no definitive answers have emerged. The story remains a puzzle with missing pieces, a haunting reminder of how fragile and unpredictable life can be when faced with the unknown. The enduring fascination with the case lies in its contradictions. The men were close friends, bonded by their shared love of basketball and their mutual trust. Yet their actions on that fateful night seemed to defy logic and reason. Why leave the safety of their car? Why trek miles into a deadly wilderness without proper clothing or supplies? And why did they fail to use the resources available in the trailer? These questions continue to baffle experts and armchair detectives alike, ensuring that the mystery of the Yuba County Five will remain etched in history as one of America's most chilling unsolved cases. The case also serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of the wilderness and the unpredictability of human behavior under stress. Experts have speculated that the group may have been affected by paradoxical undressing, a phenomenon associated with severe hypothermia, where victims feel an intense heat and begin shedding their clothing. Others suggest that disorientation caused by the cold and exhaustion could explain their erratic decisions. But even these scientific explanations fail to account for the full scope of the mystery, leaving room for darker, more unsettling possibilities. In the absence of definitive answers, the Yuba County Five have become a symbol of unresolved tragedy. Their story is one of friendship, fear, and the thin line between survival and disaster. For those who knew them, the pain of their loss is compounded by the lack of closure, an open wound that time has not healed. As new generations discover their story, the questions persist. What really happened on that cold February night in 1978? And will we ever know the truth behind one of America's most haunting mysteries? The Yuba County Five case has also sparked debates about the role of mental health in their tragic fate. Each member of the group had unique challenges: intellectual disabilities, psychiatric conditions, or both, that may have influenced their decisions. Mathias's schizophrenia in particular became a focal point for speculation. While he had been stable on his medication, the stress of being lost in the wilderness could have triggered unpredictable behavior. Did his condition play a role in leading the group deeper into danger? Or were their actions simply the result of collective panic and confusion in an unfamiliar environment? Despite decades of speculation, no theory has ever fully explained the events of that night. The lack of physical evidence and eyewitness accounts has left investigators grasping at straws, piecing together fragments of a story that refuses to reveal itself. The chilling details, the abandoned car, the unused food and heater, and the scattered remains have become symbols of a mystery that defies logic. For those who study the case, it remains a haunting reminder of how quickly ordinary circumstances can spiral into unthinkable tragedy. For amateur sleuths and true crime enthusiasts, the Yuba County Five case represents the ultimate enigma. Online forums and discussion boards are filled with theories, ranging from plausible explanations to outlandish conspiracies. Some suggest the group encountered foul play, perhaps stumbling upon illegal activity in the remote wilderness. Others believe their behavior was influenced by an external force, whether psychological, environmental, or even supernatural. The lack of definitive evidence has allowed these theories to flourish, turning the case into a modern-day legend that continues to captivate and disturb. The families of the five men, however, view the case through a much more personal lens. For them, it is not a puzzle to be solved, but a tragedy that has left an indelible mark on their lives. They remember their loved ones not as subjects of a mystery, but as individuals with hopes, dreams, and struggles. The unanswered questions only deepen their grief, leaving them to wonder what might have been if that night had gone differently. In their eyes, the Yuba County Five are not just victims of circumstance, but symbols of how fragile life can be when faced with the unknown. As the years have passed, the case has taken on an almost mythic quality. The image of five friends setting out for a simple night of basketball, only to vanish into the unforgiving wilderness, resonates as both tragic and deeply unsettling. The details of their journey, the abandoned car, the desolate trailer, and the scattered remains, paint a picture of confusion and desperation that feels almost too haunting to be real. It's a story that lingers in the imagination, a reminder of how quickly the ordinary can turn extraordinary under the right or wrong circumstances. Even today, the Plumas National Forest holds an eerie allure for those who know the story. Visitors to the area often speak of an unsettling atmosphere, as if the forest itself remembers what happened. Some claim to feel a sense of unease near the locations tied to the case, while others report hearing whispers or seeing shadows in the trees. Whether these accounts are fueled by imagination or something more is impossible to say. But one thing is certain: the Yuba County Five have left a lasting imprint not just on those who knew them, but on anyone who has encountered their story. The case's enduring mystery has also inspired creative interpretations, from fictionalized accounts to documentaries attempting to piece together the puzzle. In 2024, Netflix released a special episode on the Yuba County Five as part of its Unsolved mystery series, reigniting public interest in the story. The documentary explored every angle, from the psychological profiles of the men to the chilling testimony of Joseph Shones. While it shed light on some aspects of the case, it ultimately left viewers with more questions than answers, emphasizing the complexity and haunting nature of this tragedy. For those who study true crime, the Yuba County Five serves as a reminder that not every mystery can be solved. Despite advances in forensic science and decades of speculation, the case remains as perplexing today as it was in 1978. It stands as a testament to the unpredictability of human behavior and the unforgiving power of nature. And while theories may abound, the truth behind what happened that night in the mountains of California remains locked away, a secret carried by the wilderness itself. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Yuba County Five case is its lack of resolution. The questions it raises about human behavior, survival, and the unknown linger in the minds of those who delve into its details. How could five men, bonded by friendship and trust, end up making decisions that led to such a tragic outcome? Was it fear, confusion, or something more sinister that drove them into the wilderness that night? These unanswered questions have turned their story into a chilling cautionary tale, one that continues to baffle even the most seasoned investigators. As time goes on, the case remains a stark reminder of how fragile life can be when faced with the unpredictable forces of nature and the complexities of the human mind. The Yuba County Five are more than just a mystery. They are a symbol of how quickly the ordinary can spiral into the extraordinary. Their story serves as both a warning and a haunting legacy, ensuring that their names and the questions surrounding their fate will not be forgotten. Even with all the theories surrounding the Yuba County Five, one fact remains. Their story is a chilling reminder of how quickly the familiar can turn into the unexplainable. The group's disappearance and deaths have been compared to other infamous cases, such as the Dyatlov Pass incident, where a similar combination of environmental factors and inexplicable behavior led to tragedy. Like Dyatlov, the Yuba County Five case continues to spark debates and speculation, drawing comparisons due to its eerie blend of survival challenges, psychological factors, and unanswered questions. Ultimately, the legacy of the Yuba County Five is one of enduring mystery. Their families continue to seek answers, holding on to hope that one day new evidence might emerge to explain what happened. For investigators and true crime enthusiasts, the case serves as a stark reminder of how little we sometimes understand about human behavior in moments of crisis. As the years pass, their story remains a haunting chapter in American history, a puzzle that may never be solved but will never be forgotten. The Yuba County Five case remains a chilling enigma, not just for its unanswered questions, but for the unsettling details that seem to defy explanation. The story has earned comparisons to the Dyatlov Pass incident, another mysterious case where a group of individuals met a tragic and baffling end in the wilderness. Both cases share eerie similarities: unexplained behavior, harsh environmental conditions, and an enduring lack of closure. Yet while Dyatlov Pass has seen numerous theories ranging from avalanches to military experiments, the Yuba County Five's fate feels even more elusive, rooted in psychological complexities and inexplicable choices. As the mystery persists, it continues to captivate those drawn to the unknown. The case challenges our understanding of human behavior under duress and reminds us of the fragile line between survival and disaster. For investigators, families, and true crime enthusiasts alike, the Yuba County Five are more than just victims. They are symbols of how quickly ordinary circumstances can spiral into tragedy. Their story serves as a haunting legacy, ensuring that their names will be remembered even as the answers remain out of reach. In the end, the Yuba County Five case stands as one of the most haunting mysteries in American history. It is a story of friendship, fear, and the unforgiving power of nature, but also one of unanswered questions that continue to disturb and fascinate. Decades later, the case remains unsolved, a chilling reminder of how fragile and unpredictable life can be. The wilderness that claimed their lives still holds its secrets, leaving behind only fragments of a story that will forever remain incomplete. For those who seek answers, the Yuba County Five are a testament to the enduring pull of the unknown, a mystery that refuses to let go. The story of the Yuba County Five is a chilling reminder of how quickly the ordinary can turn into the unexplainable. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think truly happened that night in the Sierra Nevada mountains? Could their tragic fate have been the result of fear, confusion, or something far more sinister? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you think about this haunting case. If you enjoyed uncovering this mystery and want to dive deeper into stories like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Many viewers watch our videos without subscribing, but by subscribing, you'll ensure you never miss the darkest and most fascinating mysteries we explore. Before you go, check out the next recommended video on your screen. It's another story that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Jack. Stay curious, stay safe. Did this conclusion meet your expectations? Let me know if you'd like any adjustments or changes.